I think we saw it. That looks nice, doesn't it?
Early this summer, we made an impulse purchase that, as it turns out, had actually been years in the making. We found our perfect Jeep Wrangler, but within days of getting it home, Kara and I decided we needed to make some changes. The Jeep looked a little bit too much like Grandpa Mailman should be driving it. So in this video, I wanted to share with you why we wanted a Jeep in the first place, how we are modifying the looks to be more our style, and finally the process for installing a Teraflex 2.5-inch spring suspension lift kit. So I hope you stick around.
Go, dig, drive, DIY.
So first, a little backstory. Just a year ago, Kara and I didn't even know we wanted a Jeep. To be honest, I wasn't much of a Jeep fan growing up because I drove International Scouts. They're like a rival Jeep. Jeeps and Jeep people weren't anything I aspired to have or become. No offense. I just didn't understand. But for Kara, she had always secretly wanted a Jeep. When she was a kid, she saved up a bunch of bazooka gum wrappers one time and sent them in for a free toy Jeep giveaway prize. Weeks, months, and years went by, and she never received her little yellow toy Jeep. She waited a long time, forever hopeful that it would show up one day, but it never did. Fast forward to Harlan Days 2019. We were watching our little hometown parade when I saw what looked like a line of about a half dozen modified Jeeps coming our way. Turns out the local Jeep club had brought along about 50 Jeeps to the parade. I had never seen so many in one place. By the end of it, I was sick of seeing Jeeps. But despite me saying that, something about all those feet dangling out the door kind of made me like the idea and the lifestyle associated with a Jeep. I couldn't admit that Jeeps were kind of cool. I'd never live it down. So I kept it to myself.
What are you doing?
Nothing?
Are you looking at Jeeps again?
No. Maybe.
This spring, I noticed a friend of mine posted a Wrangler for sale on Marketplace. I scoffed at the idea, but showed it to Kara. I learned of the long-lost bazooka gum Jeep that deep down, her heart was still waiting on.
You want one?
I always did when I was younger, but I never had one.
Telling people that my wife always wanted a Jeep was the perfect excuse for me to not have to admit that I wanted one too. I had a new mission in life. It took a few months, but we finally found what we wanted. One owner, 2-door, 3-piece hardtop, 4-seater, 5-speed, white Jeep Wrangler.
I'm not sure where to hold on. Okay. You have it or is it too heavy?
You gotta catch up, Ella. Gotta go your way, girls.
My way?
I'm gonna do it this way. Check your mind. Get it down. Make sure that window doesn't hit on anything.
I found a used soft top first, because you know, parades and such. I mounted up a hitch and built a custom bike rack, you know, for the adventures. But it still didn't look quite right to us. The tires that came with it were very aggressive and very noisy going down the road. They looked okay, but it still just didn't look very tough, as Kara would say. We are both children of the 80s and 90s, and we both have an idea of what a 4x4 truck should look like to us. Many of my vehicles back then had a signature look of polished aluminum rims and white letter tires. That was just my style. The black rims of today are just an acquired taste that I never learned to like. We decided we were going to go for the old school look. And as they say, what's old is new again eventually. This was my old standard, BF Goodrich all-terrain KO2s. I've had them on almost every truck I've owned. These are 295/75 R16s. Yep, 16-inch rims, just like 1992. We liked it way better, but I thought it still looked a little squatty, and the tires were rubbing on the inner fenders when we turned real hard to park it in the garage. I've always wanted to install a lift kit on something. I happened to stop in at a local 4x4 shop that specializes in Jeeps just to ask what was available. Austin from offroadsource.com steered me towards the Teraflex 2.5-inch spring lift with shocks. This kit would give us the look and stance that Kara and I both know and love. Installing a 2.5-inch Teraflex coil spring lift with shocks on my two-door JK Wrangler. You can find a more detailed tutorial from me on how to install this lift kit through the link in the description below, but I'll give you the quick version here. Basically, you have to raise the Jeep high enough to drop the axles down almost to the floor. Secure it firmly under the frame. All of the 2.5 inches of lift comes from simply replacing the factory coil springs. You need to remove, disconnect, or loosen anything that connects the rear axle to the chassis. Loosen the control arm bolts, but you'll only need to remove one of those. The shocks can come out. The rear track bar will be disconnected and then reinstalled with an adapter bracket. Remove the sway bar links, but save them for the front axle. Disconnect the brake line mounts, and you'll use a drop adapter bracket to remount them later. Loosen the ABS wires from the frame so you've got enough slack to drop it down. And when everything is clear and loose, you can lower the axle and the coil springs will practically fall out on their own. To put it back together is just the reverse of disassembly. You'll need to add the new bump stops to the top of the axle, replace the coil springs with the new Teraflex springs, install the track bar adapter bracket if it came in your kit, add the new, longer sway bar links, lift the axle back up into place, and reassemble anything that you took apart. And finally, install the new longer shocks from Teraflex. There we go. The process for the front is nearly the same in that you just remove anything that would prevent the axle from being dropped down from the frame. The biggest issues I had with the front was getting the new bump stop extenders to seat into the old boot, but I did finally get them. I tell you, that was a late one that night, but it took me only about 4.5 to 5 hours. Now, to see our finished product. I think it turned out great. Got nice clearance, it's got a nice look. It looks exactly like I want it to look. All right. We love the look of our Jeep now. It's our shared midlife crisis purchase and our wedding anniversary gift to each other, since tomorrow will mark 18 years of marriage. All right, it's time to test out our new look with what this Jeep does best. You guys ready to go get ice cream?
Am I driving?
Are you right?
Yeah, that's right. You don't need a ladder to get in, that's the plus.
So what do you think? Do you like the old school look, or do you prefer the larger, more modern rims and tires? I want to hear what you think of Jeeps in general, so don't be afraid to share your thoughts in the comments. I'll admit, Jeeps are growing on me, and they're the perfect cruising vehicle when you want to go beyond where the golf cart can take you. Our family hopes that the Jeep will lead us to more experiences that will become lasting memories. That's why we bought the Jeep, and to go get ice cream. Thanks so much for watching. I hope to have you around for the next one, but until then, keep on Jeeping, or whatever they say. All right, take care. Ready for ice cream?
Yeah, I know what I want. I'm getting moose tracks.
We had to have our lookalikes for the young Kara scene. Can I get you, all three of you, blow a bubble? Hurry up.
Wait, do you want me to go get some? You want me to go get some gum?
We're gonna need more bazooka gum.